What's up, guys? It's your boys Awoki back at it with some more of the deep dive of Chris Watts's case, and we're gonna be watching Nichol Kessinger's the Watts family annihilation deep dive from unapologetically me true crime. Now this one is just focused on Nichol Kessinger, and this one I've been waiting for a while, but you guys have been wanting me to watch this specific video for quite some time, and we're gonna watch it right now. I'm hopefully going to email Miss Unapologetically Me True Crime again and set up a time where we can actually do our collaboration here very soon. So look forward to that. But until that time, make sure you guys are subscribing to both of our YouTube channels by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that Wookie myself has posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I'm so thankful for you guys. Hopefully one day we can hit that 100K goal, but I need your guys' help. And like I said, the link will be down in the description for Unapologetically Me True Crime's YouTube channel. Go give her some love. We got her to 10,000 subscribers. I'm so happy to see another one rise to the top. Definitely keep going over there. Give her some love. Watch her old stuff. Watch her new stuff. You know the deal. And with that being said, let's get into the video.
It's me.
I hate that laugh.
You guys just call me back when you have a chance. Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back. Bye.
If any guy is watching this with myself, you and I right now, man to man, do you think that's cute or hot? Because I can tell you right now, it's not. Just throwing it out there.
He went to North Carolina and he was trying to rehab his marriage with his wife.
He said.
Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
All right. And do you know the children's name?
Yes, it's Bella and Celeste.
Okay.
I hope there's a nice.
Yeah, he flew out there, and
I hope there's a nice place in hell for him, sitting right next to Hitler and who's that guy with Genghis Khan? So
I thought I had convinced him to try to make peace with her. And I was like, if you guys work on this, I'm out. Because what's the point? I'm not trying to be with somebody that's in another relationship.
She's out because she wants to separate herself from the whole situation.
Sometimes, right after work, if I was still talking to him, I get kind of bummed out, and I tell him, just oh, it's frustrating sometimes, having to wait. He still made very frequent communication with me when he was out there. This is what he told me he wanted. We just talk about it. I'm like, what is your plan? I told him a few times, I think that you should take the time to read some articles about what separation does to kids, and he's like, oh.
Does anybody that's watching my videos or watch these interviews think that this woman is telling the truth?
They'll be fine,
no way.
and I told him, I was like, even though they're small and you think that they'll be fine, I was like, I think you guys should just read about it just so that you guys are prepared in case, one of these two starts having a hard time with the fact that you guys aren't in the same house anymore. They don't have to be in a situation that's probably not good for the kids because it's not good for those two.
But then she said how many different times, she's like, oh yeah, when I grew up, me and my sister had to go through it with my dad, and it's not as bad as you think. She was purposely sending him mixed signals. I shouldn't say that. She was probably telling him what she wanted to tell him, but she's saying to the investigators what she thinks that they want to hear. Does that make sense?
I really try to take everything with this whole situation very slow. The only part that I screwed up on was the fact that he wasn't completely separated from her when him and I decided to spend time with each other.
But wait, I thought you said that you did know that they were separated. But she said separating. She's contradicting herself right here. It wasn't let's get married and have babies, yet she Googled marrying your mistress and wedding dresses.
Wasn't, hey, we should get married, and hey, we should have babies, and hey, I want to live with you, and hey, I need to meet your children now, and let's cut the mom out. It was never
Also, according to Chris, Nikki told him she wanted to give him his first son. This was allegedly why Nikki was so upset about Shanann's pregnancy and all the pictures that she saw when she went to the home.
Like that. He told me, he's like, you know, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that. I don't know if he was resentful. I just think he was frustrated by the fact that they could be doing a lot better financially, and she had really bad spending habits. Because I would never put myself in a situation where someone was like, you know what, we're going to live in this house that costs like double what we can afford, and that's how it's going to be, because I want everybody to think we're fancy, because I wouldn't do that. I mean, to me, like, I wouldn't put up with somebody doing that to me. They just kind of like fell apart. They didn't talk. He told me that her and him have had communication issues for about 6 years, and I said 6 years is a really long time for you guys to not fix that, considering they were married for what, 8? I mean, that's like the majority of their marriage.
And you said earlier you did not know she was pregnant.
She didn't know that Shanann was pregnant, yet searches show she Googled Shanann's Facebook account several times. She Googled wedding dresses. She Googled Ronnie, Chris, Shanann. She Googled wedding dresses. She Googled man says he's leaving his wife to marry his mistress. Like, how much more can you get here? I mean, the list can continuously go on, but yet the DA is like, this is not a witch hunt. We don't need to look at her, but all the evidence is there. Hello, wake up.
To reading the newspaper.
Yep.
That never came up in any conversation.
I know why he lied to me. He lied to me because if I'd have known that he had a child on the way, I'd have never wasted my time with him in the first place.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
None of this would ever even occur if he would have just...
She literally sat there and said, I wish I could have gave you your first son.
Told me the truth. Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife, and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, and I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me.
Don't tell me you love me and then go lay in bed with another woman. And then there's probably some people that are asking me, why am I reading these? I'm reading these because there are some people that cannot see. They're blind. So I want them to be able to see this and so forth. Or the people that they can't not see. They can't see from afar. Or I'm just trying to help them out, okay? Don't get mad at me.
And then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman. Like, just don't do that. It just didn't sit right for me, you know? It's almost disrespectful where it's like, please don't. I'm like, you know, if we get to that point where it is you and me, like, yes, you can say that.
So you got, I mean, in the short period of time that you guys were together, he became very attached to you.
Yes. Very, very attached.
So did she.
Cards,
flowers.
He's telling you he loves you. He sends you flowers. Does he buy you any other gifts?
Nope. I wouldn't have wanted them anyways. That's flowers.
Chris didn't buy her any gifts, and that she wouldn't have wanted them anyways. But she had a necklace. She loved that he was taking her out to these places that Chris enjoyed, like the museum, like the zoo, the aquarium. I mean, the list goes on. She likes the moment of being spoiled when he's with her. But the necklace he bought, and she was wearing it on her only, like, not interview, but her only, like, spotlight for that news article. And she had it in the picture.
Flowers is enough. You can't, I don't need expensive stuff.
Okay. But he becomes very attached.
But Chris spent quite a bit of money on whining and dining Nikki. Diners, camping, sand dunes, Bandamere, Speedway, the Shelby Museum or Mustang Museum, all on Chris paid for, including the food that they always ate.
Yes.
You guys are
so
talking
full of crap.
Multiple times a day, at least. You're
all the time.
You're seeing each other on a regular basis.
Yep. Like, I still did my own thing all the time.
Did your friends know about him?
Nope.
Why?
Because it's like he's with 2 women right now. They don't need to know about
so
that. My name is about to be, like, slandered for probably a while.
Years.
I don't know how long it's going to take to...
Well, we're on the 6th year and we're still talking about you, Nichol, so we ain't going nowhere.
But I would not be surprised if it's going to be hard to go out in public sometimes for a couple of years. And that really hurts me. I'm just like, this is a horrible
Inmate reveals that killer Chris Watts goes back in touch, or gotten back in touch with mistress Nichol Kessinger. You can't tell me that they have not talked to each other. Some people think they did. Some people they don't think they did. I think they did, very much so.
Horrible thing, like how dare you, you know, and people aren't gonna understand that. You know, they're gonna say, oh, you know, you're the woman that had an affair with this man who took out his whole family. And I take a step back and it's just like, I didn't know. Like,
She over-accentuates
he's
everything.
So disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him and everything, and I just...
See, she didn't say that I'm ashamed of myself. She said that I'm ashamed of him. Her intro is pretty good.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back. I hope you guys are having a great day, a great weekend, a great week, whatever day it is that you're watching this video. Today, we are getting into part 1 of my deep dive on the Watts case. If you are unfamiliar with this case or you need a recap before the deep dive, you can check out my
And there are still people that don't know about this case.
last video. I'll put the link up at the top right of the screen right now. What that video contains is the most talked about narrative when it comes to the Watts case. But here at UMTC, we go beyond the narrative. We look at everything. And I mean everything we can possibly uncover. We think critically, we take all sides into consideration, steering clear of conspiracy theories, but being unafraid to ask the hard question.
Look at the conspiracy theories, but don't rule them as factual unless you have evidence to support it becoming a fact.
Questions that deserve answers. And we bring up things that may be uncomfortable to address. We also go over sometimes boring but very important topics wherever needed to understand the entire picture. I mean, I do, but I take you guys with me and we research cases together and we learn together. One thing I do stand by is that we do not victim blame. We do not engage in hateful or derogatory comments towards anyone. We can have opinions and we can share them respectfully. This is true crime. These are people's lives, and I take that very seriously. But the truth is the truth, and I will never apologize for speaking the truth. The Watts case was a requested case study that I was more than ready to take on because I've been wanting to look into this case for a very long time. There were a few reasons that I didn't. One was that YouTube has been saturated with this case. I mean, there are channels devoted to this.
I've literally tried to get off this bandwagon of the Chris Watts dive, and you guys keep wanting me to come back for more and more and more. So until I start getting comments where I'm literally told from every single one of my subscribers to be done, I'll be done when that time comes. But until then, we're going to keep diving.
This case alone, and I usually prefer to bring attention to cases that aren't getting as much coverage. Another reason that I didn't dive into this sooner is because I had a feeling that it was going to be very complex, and after spending the last few weeks on Watts Island, complex is a drastic understatement. But the main reason that I hesitated on this case was because of the children, Bella, Celeste, and unborn baby Nico. Crimes of murder are always tragic, but when they involve children, it's really hard. As a mother with a 3.5-year-old right now, I find it very hard to imagine anything happening to her, let alone what happened to Bella and Cece, who were virtually the same age. It hits very close to home. Also, I was in the same position as Shanann Watts when I was about the same age. It was a long time ago, and I won't get into it other than to say that I had 2 young daughters and a baby on the way when my divorce began. The situation was very similar, and I shudder to think that Shanann's story could have just as easily been my story. It could be anybody's story. Life does not always have a fairy tale ending, even if it looks like a fairy tale on Facebook. But enough of my ADHD chit-chat. Let's begin the deep dive into the ever so mind-blowing case of Christopher Watts and Nichol Kessinger. At this point, I'm pretty sure many of you are already familiar with this case, just as I have been over the last few years, but up until now, that's all I was, familiar with it. I had the gist of it down. It's a filicide case where a man by the name of Chris Watts snapped one morning and annihilated his entire family, his 15-week pregnant wife, Shanann, and his 2 young daughters, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3. Like I said, I knew it was going to be complex, but damn. I had no idea the rabbit hole I would fall down. I'm not even sure how I'm going to present all of these videos just yet, but I guess I'll just dive right in and go from there. On the early afternoon of August 13th, 2018, a 911 call was made by a friend of Shanann Watts. A woman by the name of Nicole Atkins was concerned that she was unable to get a hold of her friend and that it was very out of character for Shanann to not respond to anyone. After Nicole went to the home, she learned from Shanann's husband, Chris, that not only was Shanann gone, but the girls were also gone. There were a few things that were not gone, though, and that was Shanann Watts' phone and purse, which also contained an EpiPen for Cece's tree nut allergy. Nicole also noticed that Shanann's shoes were still by the front door. All of these things in combination set...
He didn't have the time to clean up and put things away like he wanted to.
Off alarm bells, and Nicole desperately wanted to file a missing persons report. Now, obviously, Nicole Atkinson and Nichol Kessinger are 2 completely different people. Yes. If you're not familiar with the case, I just wanted to make that known.
Not Nicole Atkinson's fault,
considering I'm using the name Nicole a lot in this video.
County Communications.
My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. She's not answering the door. She's not responding to text messages, phone calls, and there's no movement in the house whatsoever.
That 911 call would open up a Pandora's box of sorts because, you see, Shanann Watts had built a pretty decent sized and very public presence on social.
I think also, too, with her big public presence that she has, I think it does make this case a lot more prominently publicly looked at because she had everything out there. Just think if she had not as much. It's almost like Gabby Petito. You know, when Gabby Petito went missing and stuff like that, her stuff kind of went like everywhere because she was an influencer. She was a content creator, and Shanann was that way too. And I just think that if it wasn't for them to be publicly on social media and stuff like that, they might have not been so, like, the case would have been quiet. It wouldn't have been so, like, epically out there. But again, I think it's still epically out there to be looked at because of Nicole.
Social media, and by most outward appearances, the Watts family seemed to have the American dream. A beautiful 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom custom home in a developing neighborhood, 2 healthy and beautiful daughters, and a son on the way. This public social media appearance was mainly due to Shanann Watts, who was working as a seller for Thrive and was frequently live on Facebook. And many times, Chris and the kids were in these lives, sampling the products from Thrive, baking with Shanann, or just making cute little cameos. Shanann was very open on Facebook, and she shared a lot, as you will see throughout this series. The following day after Shanann and her 2 daughters were reported missing, a woman was brought into the police department after telling them she needed to speak to someone about the Watts missing persons case. The woman's name was Nichol Kessinger, and Nicole wanted law enforcement to know that she had been having an affair with Chris Watts,
on her
the husband and father of the missing woman and children. She said that she went to law enforcement on her own because she wanted to get ahead of things and she wanted to help bring Shanann and the kids home in any way possible.
We introduced ourselves in the lobbies earlier, so we're just going to do that again real quick. My name's Kevin Kovac. I'm with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. We're assisting the Frederick Police Department with this case involving Chris Watts.
I
And
don't
Nicole,
like
can
him
you
as
just
a
introduce
detective.
yourself for the recording?
Nichol Kessinger.
You came here on your own free will to talk to us. We picked you up at your request and brought you here. You can get up and leave at any time. You don't have to talk to us. If there's a question you don't want to answer, don't answer it. If you don't want to talk anymore, just tell me I want
She
to.
looks
Tell me
so
I want to leave.
pissed.
You're not
I
being
know it.
interrogated as a criminal suspect. We're here to understand your relationship with Chris and what you know about Chris and his family.
I bet the dad was like, yeah, I'd like to know I'd like to know what my daughter's been doing with this so-called Chris Watts.
And events relating to Chris Watts. And do you know him as Chris or Christopher?
Either one.
Okay.
Though that wasn't exactly
What'd
the
she say?
truth. In fact, many things that Nichol would claim throughout law enforcement's investigation of the Watts case would end up not being true, and her story would be inconsistent and change quite frequently.
It's like 90%
Allegedly, Nichol
inconsistent.
Kessinger didn't know that law enforcement already knew about the affair. They had found out the night before she called them through Chris's place of employment, which also, as it turns out, was Nicole's place of employment as well, Anadarko Petroleum. It's been rumored that
Liar.
Nichol knew that the relationship was going to be exposed to law enforcement after emails were found on Chris's company computer or cell phone, and that is the real reason she went to them immediately. Not because of any real concern for Shanann and the girls, as she originally told law enforcement. That again is just conjecture. So the plot thickened right away. This was not just a family
Sorry, guys.
matter. There was infidelity involved, and police were not buying the quote-unquote missing story that Chris was telling, especially now that they knew he had been having an affair. The same day Nichol talked with law enforcement is the same day that Chris Watts gave his first confession. August 15th of 2018, in Chris's second interview, he initially repeated the same statement from the day before, where he told S.A. Coder that he and Shanann
I hate that they pat his back and like, oh, it's okay, Chris, it's okay. Don't be showing this man any sort of emotions. He don't deserve it.
discussed a potential divorce in the morning, and when they finished talking, Chris went to work. Chris stated that he was involved in an extramarital affair with a woman named Nikki. He stated that he and Shanann spoke about marital issues, but he wasn't able to admit to her that he was involved sexually with Nikki. Chris continued to state that he, quote, did not do anything to those girls, unquote. And just a quick side note here, he refers to his daughters as those girls or these girls every time he speaks of them, completely removing himself from being their father, in my opinion.
But yeah,
I mean,
he still
that's
celebrates
the way
Father's
Nichol
Day.
Kessinger describes his family. That woman, those girls, those two. Not once does Chris say my daughters or my girls during questioning, which I red flagged immediately. At one point during the interview, Chris asked if he could speak to his father, whom had just flown in from North Carolina, and the detectives allowed his father into the room to talk with Chris. Chris told his father that he had failed a polygraph test, and his father asked him if there was any reason that he shouldn't. His father then asked, quote, is there anything else you want to tell me? What is going on? Unquote. Chris told his father, quote, I don't want to protect her. I don't know what else to say. Unquote. Chris's father then asked whether Shanann hurt the girls, and Chris replied, yeah. Chris said that he heard a commotion upstairs, but he didn't think anything of it. In regards to Shanann, Chris said that in her heart, I know she knew about the affair. She was just waiting for me to say something and for me to deny it again, and she just lost it. At that point, S.A. Coder and S.A. Lee returned to the room and asked Chris if he would repeat the things that he had said to his father. Chris stated that after he had his early morning conversation with Shanann, she knew what was going on with his affair. He continued to deny his affair and continued to tell her that he was at a Rockies game. Chris stated that he went downstairs, he began to pack for work, he heard a couple of things upstairs but didn't think anything of it. He went upstairs to talk to Shanann again and saw on the monitor that Bella's covers were pulled off and she was just lying there. Chris stated that he freaked out and he ran into Cece's room, got on top of Shanann. He stated that Cece was blue. He said, I did the same thing to her being Shanann. Chris stated that he felt horrible for what he did to Shanann and for what she did to the kids. Chris stated that Shanann killed both.
But funny is the girls, they didn't die of choking. They died of asphyxiation by smothering. Asphyxiation, sorry. So for him to sit there and say that, you already know that he doesn't know how the girls died. So who else would know that how the girls died? Just saying.
Both girls by choking them, and that he did the same thing to her. Chris then provided information stating that Shanann was in a hole in the ground that he dug and that the girls were in an oil tank that he placed them in. Chris marked the burial site of Shanann on a map. Chris stated that he buried his wife in a t-shirt and underwear, and the girls were put into the oil tanks in their pajamas. They asked for Chris to confirm that his wife killed the girls first and then he killed her, and Chris stated,
just thinking and sitting here, just knowing that when Chris says, oh, Shanann choked them, he means, again, like I said before, he doesn't know how they died. He said in one part, he put his hand over and then smothered them with their blanket. But then he says in this one, whatever, they were choked. He doesn't know how they died. So then who knows how they died? Somebody that murdered them, aka Nichol, possibly. Again, I have to say, for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's not factual, it's my opinion, but I think that's what happened.
Stated that Shanann killed the girls and then he killed her. Chris stated that the reason that he put Shanann in the ground and the girls in the tanks was because that was where he was going that day and he didn't know what else to do. He stated that he didn't call 911 because he didn't know what else to do. Now, what I really want to get into is Nichol Kessinger, because a lot of people are torn on whether or not she should also be paying some legal consequences for this crime. And there are a lot of reasons why. Best believe we're going to get into all of it. So please be patient and make sure you listen to the entire video. In fact, we should do something. Let's do something before I get into the nitty gritty. What if you comment right now what your opinion is on Nichol Kessinger? What do you think about her and her involvement or lack thereof? And whether or not you think she needs to hold some sort of accountability. Then I'll ask you to do the same thing either at the end of this video or series, whichever it ends up being, and see if your opinion has changed or stayed the same. Because what I've noticed about my videos is so many people make their minds up right away without listening to the entire thing, and they don't realize that they missed out on a lot of information. I'm going through the case with you. You may know everything that there is to know about a case that I'm covering right now, but there are so many watching this video right now who don't know everything. And because of that, I'm making sure to start from the beginning. Trust, I have read all 2,000 pages of discovery, listened to every interrogation.
I have read and watched them too, or looked at them too, but I'm still finding new things every single day with reading that 2,000 pages of discovery over and over and over.
Video. And I have even watched tons and tons of Shanann's home videos, as well as family interviews with the Watts and the Ruszczyk families, body cam footage, you name it. I began my research on Wednesday, March 20th, and I have spent every day since researching this case with any free time I had, in addition to work time I set out. I got you. Give me a chance, okay? Simmer down back there. This is just part one. This particular deep dive is more about Nichol Kessinger and how she fits into the story. Therefore, we need to know who Nichol Kessinger is, who she was before starting a relationship with
I can't
Chris
wait to
Watts.
see this.
So let's do it. Nichol Kessinger is a Colorado native. She was born in 1988 and graduated Colorado State University in 2013 with a bachelor's degree in geology. She began her career in bookkeeping with the hopes of slowly progressing to the position of geology engineer. Her father, Dwayne Kessinger, is also an engineer and is actually a pretty big deal in Colorado, from what I have seen.
He's like a police / safety / possibly Freemason / Kessinger's daddy like he's doing a lot.
Most recently for his involvement in respirators to help aid COVID-19 patients back when there weren't enough respirators to go around during that surge in 2020. Now, I don't know much about that, but I do know that he was somehow involved in the engineering of field respirators, and it was because of the shortage, so it was a big deal. Many people had assumed that Dwayne Kessinger had ties to law enforcement, and that's why Nichol Kessinger wasn't ever considered a suspect or even a person of interest in the murders. But none of those claims have any solid proof to back them up. Though it is possible, I can't deny, I do feel, however, he was a respected member of the community, which may have been helpful to Nichol Kessinger. But if necessary, we will get more into Dwayne later on. In regards to Nichole's workplaces, she was associated with Halliburton, one of the largest oil field service companies, and the environmental consulting and construction company Tasman Geosciences. Later on, Nichol started working with Anadarko Petroleum, which is now owned by Occidental Petroleum, a company that engages in hydrocarbon explorations. It was during her employment at Anadarko where Nichol Kessinger met Chris Watts.
She works from home.
But before any of that, Nichol had a record. She had a past that was kept hidden from everyone and could have very well been the reason that Chris went from wanting a jury trial to accepting a plea deal pretty much out of the blue. Before even speaking with the FBI, Nichol had already been considered a protected witness by Frederick police. Law enforcement never verified her alibi or any information she had given them. They simply just handed her that status of protected witness. Why? I don't know. One thing I want to reiterate.
She's not in the witness protection program. She was a protected witness. Like, people get that all mixed up all the time.
Before I go any further, is that Chris Watts took a plea deal. And I said this in regards to the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case and other cases as well. When you take a plea deal and you avoid a trial, there are a lot of things that are able to be kept from the public. They're able to be kept a secret. I have explained plea bargains as being a win-win situation in certain cases. The prosecution gets their guilty verdict, and the guilty party gets to kind of save face and not have all of their dirty laundry aired out, as it would be if there were a trial. Also, DA Michael Rourke spoke out on Nichol Kessinger's behalf, saying that they had no reason to investigate her any further, saying, quote, "This is not a witch hunt," unquote. But directly prior to this statement, he admitted that while Nichol came to the FBI of her own volition, she had in fact deleted all correspondence between she and Chris Watts, leaving them with very little data or digital footprint to go off of in regards to their relationship. Key pieces of what Chris Watts was up to the days leading up to the murder.
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital
hampering is illegal.
She was interviewed on multiple occasions. I believe that for the most part she was forthcoming in the course of those investigations.
Most part?
We don't have any reason to believe that she had any prior knowledge or involvement in the death of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I think that's the best way I can answer that.
There's a little
Now,
doubt.
I just want you guys to keep all of that in mind throughout this video, okay? I also want you to keep two words specifically in mind while watching any of NK's interviews, questioning, whatever you want to call it. Pathological liar, okay? We'll get into that during educational purposes time. I also wanted to say that there are a number of channels out there that are dedicated to this case. One of the best ones that I have
I've watched one
seen.
of hers.
It's not just a Watts channel, but he does go into all of this, and he's very, very good. The channel is called
Yes,
Behind Criminal
love Behind.
Minds. And
Great
the
channel.
one video that I watched so far is called Nichol Kessinger's Dark Past. And he does have a couple
Wonder,
of
great
videos
channel.
on Kessinger. I'm going to put the link to that channel in the description box below. Another one is Watts the Obsession. I think
Another
the
great
creator's
channel.
name is Kelly. I've watched a lot of her videos too during this, and I'm going to continue to, because these are people that are really just looking at facts. And that's what we're about here. While we
Amen.
may discuss theories and we may speculate on certain things, we do that off of facts and evidence. Right? We don't do that off of hearsay and rumors. So, all right, I'm gonna shut up now, but I'm gonna put those two for sure in the description box below, and any channels that I get stuff from. If I don't type it out on the screen, it'll be listed into the description box below. Okay, so where are we at? Oh yeah, that's right. Nichol Kessinger's criminal background. On September 9th of 2006, Nichol Kessinger was arrested for possession and consumption of alcohol by a minor. Not a major deal. I mean, she was 19 years old at the time, and kids will be kids, right? But this was actually her second offense. August 30th of 2006, she was charged with driving without a license, and it has a / alcohol related. And if you notice, her BAC, or blood alcohol content, was all zeros on each charge, which means she either refused to blow,
or
which,
they didn't
depending on
test
where
her.
you live, can be mandatory suspension of your license. It is here where I live. Or she wasn't drinking, though consumption would suggest that she was drinking, right? Yet somehow her cases were all completely dismissed. Not even community service or probation noted. It would appear to me that she's a very lucky girl. Like, she can just do whatever she wants and not have to worry about any sort
But a lot of people think it's because of daddy.
of legal consequence. Tell me how a person learns a lesson when they are never held accountable. I mean, as a child, if you're
Exactly,
not held
it's just gonna keep
accountable, as a
happening.
teen, if you're not held accountable, what type of adult are you going to be? I wonder if Daddy was present for all of those charges, because one thing I do know from experience is how the court system works. The only way she would have gotten out of these without a scratch on her record is if she had a lawyer that was either cool with the judge or family that was cool with the judge. Again, just my opinion based on personal experience. I also do feel like manipulation can play a part even in the courtroom. Now, there's one other allegation that has been made against Nichol Kessinger, one that no one can confirm legally because she was a minor when it allegedly happened. However, I've seen it a few times during my research on a few different channels, and I think this comment originated from a Facebook group pertaining to this case, but it is said to be legit. I talked about the channel Behind Criminal Minds a minute ago, and it's in one of his videos that he spoke with the person who made this comment. At least that's what I think he said, and confirmed that they were a reputable source. How? I don't exactly know, so take this with a grain of salt. Take it for what it's worth.
I really wish I could show you that picture, guys, that I have, all pictures. I still have to keep it under wraps, but it's definitely fairly new. So
whatever. But the comment read, quote, "My wife and I were close family friends with her parents," her being Nichol Kessinger. "Our children grew up with theirs. Nichol was always a problem child, and especially so when she was a teen, as her record would show. I just want to say that she stabbed me in the back with a kitchen knife and was arrested and charged with a felony. However, the judge deferred her felony conviction if she could stay out of trouble. This incident divided both families, and we have not spoken since that last court appearance. This happened in 2004 or 2005, I can't remember exactly what year, in Aurora, Colorado. Anyway, she is entirely capable of being involved in the murders. She is a narcissist and violent," unquote. Now, while there are no court records available to prove this because she was a minor and the records would have been sealed, there was also another comment with even more information posted in response by the same man. And that comment reads, quote, "I was asked to watch Bob and Rob's home while they were away on vacation, with
She didn't do that.
instructions that Nichol, under no circumstances, was to be inside the home while they were away. My wife and Nichole's younger sister, who was staying with us, went by to get more clothing. My wife and her, I'm guessing Nichole's sister, walked in on Nichol and a guy having oral sex on the couch in the family room. After doing her best to try to remove both to no avail, she called me. Long story short, a physical altercation occurred between the male and myself, and which during that altercation, Nichol stabbed me in the back with a kitchen knife pulled from the butcher's block. My wife interceded, getting the knife away, and both fled, but both were quickly arrested after my wife called 911, unquote. So this, again, is alleged, and the only way we may ever have it verified is if Nichol Kessinger is actually investigated. Because, yes,
I
sealed
hope one day,
from public, but they're not gone. The court would still have record of this. So if Nichol Kessinger is actually investigated, maybe that comes out. And believe me, there's a lot to investigate when it comes to Nichol Kessinger. Moving to present day, Nichol had a total of 5 interviews with law enforcement, and some of those were by phone. One of her correspondences with Detective Kobach was via text message, and she even had texted Detective Kobach at 2 a.m. asking questions.
So what, you texted me about 2 a.m. and said that you remembered some other information. What did you remember?
Like, just kind of odds and ends. And I'm sure there will be more as this goes on.
Something that I noticed was how nonchalant Nichol was in all of these interrogations, especially the videos where you could see her body language.
Look at
the August 16th, 2015 interview with her father present was especially disturbing to watch. At that time, Chris had confessed to killing Shanann, and many people believe that despite him saying that Shanann killed the girls, he had to have been the one to actually do it, that Shanann would never have done something like that. Now, Nichol does break down in that interview at about the hour and 30-minute mark, and it's very short. She recovers very quickly.
I can tell you when I'm crying for a while. I don't just go, okay, now what's next? Like, I'm gone for crying. So this is an act.
He's so disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him and everything, and I just... all those little girls. They're so little. They're so little.
We talked a little bit earlier about getting some help for these things, and we can provide that.
Okay.
At really no cost. Through the state.
One more we just want to make sure there's resolution.
Absolutely.
That's why we come to you guys to pound it down until there's nothing left.
I'm sorry that you're talking again today. I really am. I don't.
Until Kobach makes a comment about how he doesn't want to put her through any more trauma and apologizes to her. She then whips up another batch of crocodile tears, in my opinion. She goes on to describe how little the girls are and has another breakdown where her dad gets up and has to comfort her.
Because we need this video, and I am sorry, because I know it's hard to talk about it. But
it's so sad, and she's pregnant.
And you know what? On our end, we didn't.
They're so cute. They're so little. Like, wow. Why? How? I don't even understand how you could like bring yourself to do that to somebody who's like that big.
How does Nichol know he killed it? See, I'm telling you. It was Chris and not Shanann. See, I'm telling you. It's right there in front of us. Now watch it go. Watch.
Take a minute. Do you want to step out for a minute?
No, I just need to chill with my eyes closed for a sec. I still cannot believe this is happening.
And then it changes like that.
Alright, let's keep going, because we're just getting to the meat of this whole situation.
Let's get to the phone call on Saturday from 9 to 11.
Who is believing this?
I thought she never saw the girls in person. She says this. She has never seen the girls in person, and I highly doubt that Chris would have ever let her see the girls in person because, according to him, she wouldn't even allow Bella to talk to her grandfather, Chris's dad, because Shanann was fighting with them at the time, and he was afraid that Bella would tell. So I am damn near positive Chris would never have brought Nichol around the girls. But the way she puts her hand to her side here and says, quote, "They were like that big," unquote. That, to me, seems like she had met them in person. But that's entirely speculation. I haven't heard anyone point that out yet. Maybe it's just me who noticed this. I don't know. Maybe I'm making more out of it than I should. But that's when she really breaks down. When she's describing how little the girls were, as if she's remembering seeing them for herself in person. This is at, I'm going to show it to you right now, but just for reference, this is at 1 hour and 40 minutes and 20 seconds of that FBI interview. And again, this is entirely speculation. Body language is not my specialty. Anyway, she looks at the camera, she puts her face in her hands, and then looks up again to see if there are reactions, in my opinion. And then she puts her face back in her hands and sobs more. But when she finally stops, I noticed she didn't even wipe her eyes or face right after. And by 1 hour, 41 minutes and 48 seconds, she's talking like everything's fine again. I don't know. It's just what I see. She's asked about a 111-minute phone conversation that she and Chris had on Monday night. You know, the night before his whole family went missing. And Nichol describes it as just a regular conversation. She even says, quote, "I don't know what we talked about. Probably nothing of relevance, phone call, to be honest with you," unquote.
Let's keep going, because we're just getting to the meat of this whole situation.
Let's get to the phone call on Saturday from 9 to 11. What did you guys, or pardon me, on Sunday from 9 to 11?
Yeah, we talked a few times. So, Sunday night, I don't even know. I don't think I was like concerned about anything at that point.
You guys had had a meal, a nice meal the night before. You knew his wife was probably coming home late that evening.
Oh, you know what? I still don't remember what we talked about. Honestly, we talk about so much random stuff. It's so hard to pinpoint some of these things.
If you have to say that,
what we talked about. I do remember that was a long phone conversation. That we probably talked about all sorts of stuff. One thing I do remember though, that I didn't remember earlier when I was talking to Mark. So this is where I'm starting to remember little bits and pieces. I don't remember. Yeah, I know. So the phone conversation.
Always butting in.
I don't remember what was in the phone conversation. Probably nothing of relevance, to be honest with you.
Interestingly enough, this phone conversation is not in the 1,960 pages of discovery. It is not in the otherwise extremely detailed timeline. And
a lot of what Nichol said recently was redacted a few months ago.
Else I noticed was that Nichol had a hard time deciding whether or not she went through the garage at the Watts house to gain access into the home.
They had to have gone through the garage because they didn't want to be seen on the front camera at the front door, or gone through the back.
Any of the times that she had been there. She can't quite place the way she entered the home each time, but is sure she had gone through the front door and definitely went in through the garage at some point, but doesn't remember which time.
Something I didn't ask you about the house because you'd been there twice, and it just made me remember. Do you remember how you guys accessed the house?
That's a good question. So
she was there at least 4 times.
Once through the garage, and I think once through the front door. I think the first time was through the front door, and I think the second time was through the garage. How do you not know?
Was there anything unique about either of the doors when you went into the house that might not be typical of another house?
Like the unique door?
Not the door itself.
On their door.
Okay, there's a camera on the which door?
It's on the front door, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
Did he use a key to access the house?
No. He did not. The first time I went over there, he just let me in. And then the second time, did we go through the garage? I don't remember. I've been through his garage before. I went through his front door once, though, because I remember he had just cleaned, it was the first time I went through his front door, because he had just cleaned his carpets, and he had moved all the furniture out of the way, and the furniture was kind of in the way of the door. And he's like, the door doesn't open all the way right now.
She's telling a story that has nothing to do with it.
So I do remember that, just kind of offhandedly. And the second time, I want to say we went through his garage, because I remember his garage. I remember, yeah.
So he was at the house when you went there.
Yeah.
You were never there by yourself.
He was at,
or he took you there.
But she does say they had to have gone through his garage one of the times that she went there because she remembers the garage. Now, at this point, she has only admitted to being at the Watts home twice. So, which time? Or were you there more than twice?
I think
we do find out she was
4.
actually there 3 times, but it's interesting. So take that as you will. A majority of the time that she's talking, it's about what a wonderful person she is and how she wasn't that serious about the relationship, but Chris was just so infatuated with her, basically. She says many times that she encouraged Chris to try to fix things with his wife, that she gave him space to do that, and she enjoyed her space as well.
I really was under the impression that they were separating. Like, he could pretty much call me whenever he wanted. Like, I was the one that would tell him, like, hey, when your kids are awake, you need to spend time with your kids. Like, do that. And then after they go to bed, like, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. And originally it wasn't, but it was me that put that time frame on there because I thought he should hang out with his kids.
One of the biggest times, she says that she backed off and gave Chris this time to work things out with Shanann was during his trip to North Carolina. Shanann had taken the kids back to North Carolina, where both she and Chris are from, to visit family and set up some networking for the business she was working for called Thrive. She was there for 6 weeks, and that last week that she was there, Chris went to join her. According to Nichol, Chris was going to, quote unquote, make it work.
Yeah, he flew out there, and I thought I had, like, convinced him to, like, try
but she constantly
to make peace with her. So he still made very frequent communication with me when he was out there. I really tried to take everything with this whole situation very slow. The only part that I screwed up on was the fact that he wasn't completely separated from her when him and I decided to spend time with each other. That is where I screwed up. But other than that, everything else, it was always like, you know, you build your life, I'm going to build my life, we will intertwine them, but I am not ready to, like, do this. And he respected that. And I even said that, and I don't know if that might be in the text, but said that too, where it's like, Chris, like, you need space. Like, you're just getting out of a divorce. Like, personally, I think jumping into a new relationship is a little quick. I was trying to just make his life convenient with, like, him, his ex, his kids, and all the stuff that he needs to do and work.
And during this trip, Nichol was going to do her own thing. She was going to give him that time to be with his family. Yet, during that week, Chris's family would give statements that he was extremely distant with Shanann. Cold, even. That he hardly talked to her at all and was even somewhat standoffish with the kids, too. I guess they had all gone out to dinner and Chris had gotten up a few times from the dinner table and walked off. Shanann texted her good friend Addie about Chris's cold demeanor towards her, and here are some of the things she said. On August 7th, 2018, 5:17 p.m., Shanann told Addie, quote, Chris told me last night he's scared to death about this third baby, and he's happy with just Bella and Celeste and doesn't want another baby, unquote. Addie comforted Shanann, telling her Chris is just scared and everything will be fine once the baby is born. Shanann replied, quote, he has changed. I don't know who he is, unquote. Addie asked what she means, and Shanann replied, quote, he hasn't touched me all week, kissed me, talked to me, except for when I'm trying to figure out what is wrong. He's been distant since I left, unquote. Later on in their conversation, Shanann told Addie, quote, I told him last night I don't feel safe with him after what he said about the baby. And if he loves me, he would hold me and tell me it will be okay. Give me something. And he did nothing but go to bed, unquote. Shanann also confides in another friend by the name of Sarah in text correspondence from August 8th of 2018, just after they came back from North Carolina. At 7:24 p.m., Sarah asked Shanann if they were doing any better. Shanann replied, quote, no, with a big fat exclamation point. It's so bad, and I don't know what to do. He told me he doesn't want this baby, and he's happy with just Bella and Celeste. He thought he wanted another one. I'm so sick to my stomach. Tried to have sex with him last night just to see if that would help, and he rejected me, unquote.
So you're going to tell me
Shanann
that
said she hasn't cried this hard
they
ever.
did it that night?
Shanann added, quote, he says he feels there's a lack of communication, and it's not from me. I sent him 12 texts over the month begging him to talk to me. He fell asleep at 7 or 8 p.m. Shanann also told Sarah, quote, I tried talking to him after the rejection last night and me crying for an hour alone on the couch. He slept. I kicked his sorry ass out of bed, and I refused to sleep on the couch anymore this week. Told him this morning not to come home today if he can't tell me the damn truth on what the hell is wrong, unquote. Shanann went on to say, we are supposed to go to ultrasound tonight, and he doesn't want this baby. He'd abort it if I said it was okay, unquote. Now, I just want to be clear here. We don't know if he actually said that or if that's just how he's making Shanann feel at this point. I mean, clearly, if someone says that they don't want the baby that you're having, your mind's going to start going to crazy places. Like, well, what does that mean? You want me to end the pregnancy? And I'm sure at this point she was so pissed off and fed up that her mind had just taken over. I mean, when you're asking your partner about serious things, and you're not getting any answer or any response, your mind's automatically going to start filling in the blanks. You're going to start to assume that what you're thinking is true because you don't have your partner telling you that you're wrong. You don't have your partner explaining any of this odd behavior. And in their case, this happened very quickly over a very short span of time. Shanann told Sarah, quote, he said he's not having an affair, unquote. Sarah asked Shanann if she's certain of this, and Shanann replied, quote, honestly, I don't know what else would make him do a complete 360. We couldn't get enough of each other before I left, unquote. Messages like this continue between Shanann and a few of her friends. So I think it's fair to say that Chris did not try to, quote unquote, make it work at all in North Carolina. There are many text messages between Shanann and Chris during that North Carolina trip where it's been said by her friends that when those texts were occurring, Shanann and Chris were in the exact same room as each other, but sitting on opposite sides and just texting back and forth as opposed to actually talking. And we're going to get into those text messages and all of that a bit later on in the series. I also believe it is fair to say that Nichol Kessinger did not give Chris any space during that trip to even try to make it work anyway.
Yeah, he flew out there, and I thought I had, convinced him to, try to make peace with her. And I was like, if you guys work on this, I'm out. Because what's the point? I'm not trying to be with somebody that's in another relationship, which I know that sounds silly given the whole relationship that we had in the first place, but I don't know what you're talking about. North Carolina.
Go back to North Carolina.
So, North Carolina.
The entire time Chris was in North Carolina, Nichol was blowing up his phone with insecure messages and nude photos of herself. In her interview, she even made a comment about Shanann being the other woman. While Chris was in North Carolina trying to make it work with Shanann, he had sent a text message to Nichol telling her, I love you. She told law enforcement her reply to that text message was, quote, don't tell me you love me and then go lay in bed with another woman, unquote.
I really try to take everything with this whole situation very slow. The only part that I screwed up on was the fact that he wasn't completely separated from her when him and I decided to spend time with each other. That is where I screwed up. But other than that, everything else, it was always you build your life, I'm going to build my life, we will intertwine them. But I am not ready to do this. I even said that, and I don't know, that might be in the text, but said that too, where it's Chris,
you need space. Like, you're just getting out of a divorce. Like, personally, I think jumping into a new relationship is a little quick. It's like, I was in a relationship earlier this year, and
Sean,
I think this is also a little quick. And I'm like, so why don't we take our time? I don't even want to see you every day. I'm like, I think we should spend like a few days of that together. I'm like, because I like my space, and I think you need your space. I think you need your space to like develop your identity again and like get it back, because I think he's just been like so wrapped up in this whole thing that he's got in his own life and his life that he doesn't remember probably what it's like to like be single or have time where it's like just him.
Sure.
And so I was just like, like, embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I really try to like take it smart with all that. And it was the same thing with his kids, and he wanted to see me more. I was the one who wanted my space. I was like, nope, your kids are home, go hang out with your kids. And even on Wednesday I cut it short. Like, he came and hang out with me for a few hours, and then I was like, go chill with your kids. We got along really well. He gave me my space when I needed it. I gave him his.
It's almost like saying like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Go have fun with your kids. I'm done with you.
Whenever they were
so
home,
into herself.
I made sure that I wasn't a presence in his life so that he could be the best dad that he needed to be. And I mean, I thought what we had, it was very comfortable for me. I enjoyed it. I think he did very much as well.
You guys, 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, you guys have an intimate relationship during that time.
Yes.
Okay. So you're pretty serious. Did he ever tell you that he loved you?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever tell him the same?
A couple times.
Okay. Notwithstanding that today, because those thoughts may have changed for you, but on, let's go Sunday into Monday or Monday, did you still love him on those days?
I think it was something where it was like I said it a few times and I meant it, but he definitely felt the urge to say it to me a lot more than I did to him, because it was just all very new to me, and it was like, take your time with this. Like, you don't need to like rush that, Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife, and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, please go try to fit. And I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman.
Hold up.
You mean his wife?
Yeah,
that
right?
You yourself said to try to make it work with? See what I mean about contradictions and Nichol Kessinger? At the beginning of this investigation into Chris, Detective Kobach was the detective who was assigned to question Nichol Kessinger. Throughout his entire time speaking with Nichol, Detective Kobach never obtained any real information from Nichol. And the info he did receive that was so blatantly obvious to everyone else within her questioning either went unnoticed by Kobach, which I find hard to believe, or ignored. I also found it to be extremely strange that Nichol's alibi was never confirmed by law enforcement.
Never.
Let me just break this down
or leave
in
Jim
general
alone.
terms.
They left him alone.
Okay? A woman
See that necklace right there? That's the one that she got from Chris Watts.
Comes forward saying that she's the mistress of a man whose entire family has just been murdered. That man is the prime suspect of the crimes. And the mistress says she's going to help in any way she can, including giving up her phone if necessary. She admits to speaking with the suspect all the way up until now through voice and text. Yet, when she's asked the following day for that phone, she admits to deleting everything between herself and the prime suspect. Not only that, she becomes hesitant to even give the phone up still. No matter what.
She literally said, and I quote, "Why do you even need that stuff?"
Explanation that would in any other case be classified under obstruction of justice. The witness intentionally deleted information in an ongoing murder investigation. Period. Then the witness gives a name of someone who can verify her alibi.
Jim.
Yet refuses to give that person's last name or phone number.
And it's funny because the phone call that was made to Jim the morning of the murders was in Frederick, Colorado. Funny how that is.
During the witness questioning, she says many things that are contradictory or inconsistent, but is never required to explain these inconsistencies. The witness hands detectives a motive on a silver platter, she herself being part of that motive.
You said earlier you did not know she was pregnant until reading the newspaper.
Yep. I know why he lied to me. He lied to me because if I'd have known that he had a child on the way, I'd have never wasted my time with him in the first place. Like, none of this would ever even occur if he would have just told me the truth.
Like you just said, if I knew his wife was pregnant, I wouldn't be in this picture. Forgive me, but if he takes her out of the picture, you're never going to know that she was pregnant, right?
Here comes the dad.
He takes her out of the picture. Like,
if he murdered her,
don't lead.
She's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. If he can get away with murder, you're not going to. I got divorced from my wife. You say, do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone,
but this.
Don't lead.
Hypothetically,
please.
Yeah,
don't
hypothetically.
Lead on.
If she, okay. You understand where I'm going. If
right,
you didn't know,
you're leading into questions that are nothing with your.
If you didn't know, though,
they are. They're just he doesn't like them.
There. Did you hear what I said?
I'm following you. I just want her to answer a question that relates to. She said something that's important. That if he didn't have a child on the way, or if she didn't know that, she would have continued the relationship, right? I'm not talking about the children. I'm just talking specifically about her. If the kids were still here and he called you and said, I'm divorced from my wife, and he gets away with this, do you understand what I'm thinking from his aspect?
And yet never ends up being investigated at all.
And then looks up
Make
Amber
it make sense
Fry.
for me, you guys.
I can't.
Wait.
I can't.
Later on, a new detective is assigned to look into Nichol Kessinger, and his name is Detective Michael Prill. And he's the only one who finally not only uncovered, but also documented Nichole's phone records and Google searches, as well as finding the secret calculator app that was on Chris Watts' phone. The secret app that Chris Watts used to hide all of Nichole's photos and videos, many of which were full-on nude. October 30th of 2018, exactly 1 week after this Detective Prill's report came out, Chris accepted the plea, which ultimately would end any more of Nichol Kessinger's involvement or questioning, therefore ending her need to continue to lie. Terribly at that. So no more investigation, case closed. What a coincidence, right? So what exactly was found during Detective Prill's investigation? Well, the very first thing listed in the timeline, according to Discovery, was a search that was done by Nichol Kessinger way back in 2017. This was a search for a person, and the person's name was Shanann Watts.
But then she also looked at Chris.
Allow me to remind you that Nichol Kessinger said that she met Chris at work in June of 2018. She also stated to the FBI that she didn't know Chris was married at that time, nor did she even know his wife's name for the first few weeks of she and Chris's relationship. Can we cue CNC Music Factory for this one? Things that make you go, Another search for Shanann Watts was made by Nichol Kessinger in January of 2018, still 5 months before says she met Chris Watts. Also, in one of Nichol Kessinger's interviews, she said she had only been working for Anadarko for about 4 months at the time this all went down, which, according to my calculations, and I'm no math whiz, would mean she began working for Anadarko in May of 2018. So she hadn't been there very long before she and Chris struck up their affair. Now, I must point out that it looks as though Nichol Kessinger may have known who Chris was before she even started working with him. This is, of course, speculation, and I just want to throw out a theory.
With her opinion.
Again, this is just a theory. This is just speculation. Here it goes. Nichol Kessinger was very into health and fitness, right? She worked out, she ate clean. Her body was important to her. Now, what is it that Shanann Watts did for work? Oh, yeah, that's right. She worked as a sales rep for Thrive. What exactly is Thrive? Well, in short, it's a health and wellness company that concentrates on natural, clean, preservative-free products for gaining and maintaining a healthy body. is it at all possible that Nichol Kessinger heard about Thrive from someone? Maybe even that the closest rep to her was a woman by the name of Shanann Watts? So she Googled Shanann Watts.
And
Shanann had a very public Facebook page. A person did not even need to be friends with her on Facebook. They didn't even need to have a Facebook account to see any of her posts. And she posted a lot. Chris Watts was in many of her posts, and I'm not even going to pretend that the guy was not a handsome man. And coupled with the way he was with his children, how Shanann talked him up in all of her videos and posts, he would appear to be a great catch.
Hey guys, we're here from the boat today. Love you guys. Have a great day. We are sitting here. He's the best thing that has ever
I would love
happened
to have
to
all
me.
that.
Say hi, Cece. Hi, Daddy. Careful, Bella, it's hot. You guys like my mug? Oh my gosh, this is so good. The fire, some cookies.
A lot of snow.
You guys, I really wish I could say that all women respect that a married man is not fair game, but unfortunately, I can't. There are even some women that consider it a challenge to steal a man away from their wives. You can disagree with that all you want, but these women exist. They get excited when they see a wedding ring rather than disappointed.
Which is crazy.
There are also people out there that just don't care. If they see something or someone that they want, they go for it, no matter what may be in their way.
That's gross.
All I'm asking is it possible that Nichol Kessinger may be one of these people? That once she saw Chris, she was instantly attracted and she became obsessed with him, to the point where she stalked him through Shanann's public Facebook and eventually applied to work at Anadarko in order to meet him. It's just a question. It's just a theory. And I think it's one of the more reasonable theories, considering that there are some theories out there that Nichol Kessinger is a witch and this all involves human sacrifice. But no matter what, those searches happened. DA Rourke confirmed that 2017 was not a typo. That first search for Shanann Watts happened, and it happened in 2017. We're going to move on. I'm going to end part 1 now because I really don't want these to be longer than an hour. And with all the inserts that I'm putting in of interviews and things like that, I just want to make sure that we're not getting crazy here, because I really wanted to keep each part under an hour and a half for sure. So I'm not sure where we're at right now, but once I start adding in interviews and things.
So with that being said, guys, I definitely do think that when Chris says that he did not kill his girls, that part I actually think he might be telling the truth. The only reason why is because he says they were choked, not smothered. He doesn't really even know that how his girls died. So leave your thoughts down below. If you want me to continue these videos from Unapologetically Me True Crime, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button. Share with your friends so we can get that 61 up to 100K. And we'll see you guys in the next video. So keep it real, keep it safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.